Hello and welcome to Wisconsin in Focus, powered by the Center Square. I'm JD Davidson, regional editor for the Center Square. Joining me today is Ben Yount, Wisconsin contributor for the Center Square. Ben, how are things?
Thinking about wings for dinner tonight. You ever have one of those where you just, you can't get it out of your head? I woke up this morning, I'm like, I could go for wings. And now all day long, all I can think about is, because the real tough question is where do we go? There's so many wing choices.
You're killing me and my New Year's resolution. I've done pretty well for the first 11 days, and now I want wings and beer.
Well, that's a tough one. See, that's why I keep the resolutions small. Wear pants. Boom. I'm rocking that.
That's a good one. And I'm a high school basketball official, and I've got a game tonight, and nothing really sounds better than wings and beer after that game.
There you go. Well, I give you special dispensation. There you go.
Thanks. We are recording this on Thursday, January 11th, 2024. Ben, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos is certainly used to criticism. Anyone in his position needs to have a pretty tough skin. But what happened yesterday is another step farther than criticism. Tell us what's going on with the speaker.
The most powerful Republican in the state of Wisconsin, who is Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, is facing a sort of mini uprising from some Racine County conservatives. And this goes back to the 2020 election, as almost everything in Wisconsin does. And this goes back to former President Trump being angry that someone didn't do something in Wisconsin to somehow reverse the results of the election that showed Joe Biden had 22,000 more votes than the former president. And Robin Vos has sort of become the face of the former president's anger, and therefore some Trump supporters, a very small number of very angry Trump supporters have been trying to primary Vos, push him out, hound him, bully him into doing something about ballot drop boxes, or Megan Wolf, the administrator of the Wisconsin Elections Commission. They want her impeached. This is a group that was running radio ads saying that Vos is a threat to democracy because he didn't do something about the election now almost 4 years ago. And so yesterday, this group of people, the Recall Vos campaign, led by a man by the name of Matthew Snorek of Burlington. And anytime you have a great S-N-O-R name, it's going to get mentioned in news copy, launched an effort to recall it. And in Wisconsin, recall is you file the petition, you say, hey, we don't want this person in office anymore. And if you get enough signatures, you get to have a special election. Everyone in Wisconsin is familiar with the recall process because of what happened to former Governor Walker. But this really is just a handful of very angry, very conservative people in Vos's district who don't want to wait for the August primary and don't want to wait for the November election. They want something done now, and so they are proceeding with this recall. The actual reality of what happens next is not in their favor at all. But I mean, again, these are a handful of people who just cannot get over the 2020 election. And so to expect that they're going to have the patience to wait for the electoral process in 2024 is, well, as Vos said, entirely predictable.
He's been in the assembly for 20 years. He's the longest serving speaker in Wisconsin. Does this have any chance of reaching the recall election stage?
These people are going to need 7,000 signatures. And while that's not an unattainable goal, I mean, it's nothing like the statewide recall efforts. It's 7,000 valid actual signatures. And in order to get those 7,000 signatures in the next 2 months, they're going to need to have a coordinated effort. I mean, you're not just in the middle of February in Wisconsin. It's not like you can go and stand in the grocery store parking lot and say, hey, let's recall Robin Vos. Even if they did, you got to remember, Vos has been elected for 20-something years. He's on the ballot every other year. He is as popular in his district as anyone can get. After all, voters understand that having the most powerful lawmaker as your own state representative, hey, you got really good roads and your schools don't have to worry about missing out on that state grant. And there's all manners of benefits of that. But besides that, Vos remains very popular with conservative and certainly mainstream Republicans who understand that, hey, sorry that former President Trump didn't win in 2020. And yes, something happened with that election, but we're headed to November of 24. Nothing particularly good comes from trying to relitigate the election from the past. And that's what it is that Vos has been saying about this. He said, this is a waste of time. It's a waste of resources. He said, these are the same people who were involved in his primary last time. He said he beat them. They continued their efforts as a write-in in the fall election, and he beat them. And one of the stories that we haven't written about in a while that has a tie to this recall is there's a gentleman down in Racine County by the name of Harry Waite. He's facing election fraud charges, one of the actual few real election fraud cases in Wisconsin to go to court because he tried to claim an absentee ballot in Robin Vos's name. Now, Waite says he was doing this to prove a point about election fraud, but he still committed election fraud, allegedly, according to prosecutors.
Point proven.
And yeah, when you generally admit to doing the thing that you say you're not going to be convicted of, so that kind of gives you an idea as to who these Vos haters are. And it really is hate. This is not a political opposition. This is not some sort of groundswell that the folks in Racine County, we could just get that entrenched incumbent out. This is a group of people who are they remain angry about the 2020 election, and they decided Robin Vos is their target, and they are trying yet again to do what voters could simply do in August. Again, we have a primary coming up in August. If there would be a recall election, it would be in June.
So this story went online this morning on the Center Square. There was a small part in there that I wanted to ask you about. Does the speaker now get to start raising money based on the potential of a June recall?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He doesn't have to wait until the Elections Commission certifies this. That there is an official recall petition filed opens up the lane in Wisconsin campaign finance law that allows him to raise unlimited money. And it should be noted that Vos is a very prolific fundraiser. Now, he doesn't typically need a ton of money to win re-election down in his Racine County district. But here's the other wrinkle. Everyone expects that the new liberal majority Wisconsin Supreme Court will try and draw Vos out of his current district when they redraw the maps sometime this spring. So what this recall effort really is going to do is jumpstart, hypercharge Robin Vos's fundraising ability so that even if he has to run in a new election or has an incumbent Republican primary challenger in Racine County in August, this is only going to increase the amount of money that Vos has, that Vos can spend, and it increases the chances that Vos wins not only re-election, but re-election likely in a brand new legislative district against a Republican. So this recall effort is most likely going to explode in the face of these recall supporters, pretty much just like everything else that they've done over the past almost 4 years now.
This is very interesting, and I'm sure we'll have lots more in the coming months. That's all the time we have. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For Ben Yount, I'm JD Davidson. Thanks for listening, and please subscribe.
Audible is a great way to gain access to an ever-growing selection of audiobooks. They've got what everyone's listening to, bestsellers, new releases, that story you've been waiting for. Follow the link in our show description to get 30 days of Audible free.